the West Bridgewater Wetlands Protection Bylaws and Rules and Regulations. Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing in the McDonald Brown Conference Room, 65 North Main Street, through both remote participation and in person on June 6, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. And we're all set.
Never had the feedback before, so I'm not quite sure if I would.
Always something new.
Okay, so 109.
All right, we're
All right,
Is that you?
Ready to roll?
that's me. All right. Carlos Scolti, members of the commission, thank you for hearing us
Just
today.
slide that, excuse me, just a little bit like that, and this lady, I don't know if she can see it.
Yeah. So Carlos Scolti with Civil Environmental Consultants representing the applicant on the project. So we're in front of you today for review notice of resource area delineation. So basically just redefining the wetlands that were previously approved through filings for a project at this project. Originally there was a filing order of conditions issued in January 2017. A subsequent amended order of conditions for a proposed 3-lot subdivision issued in June 2017. Since then, those approvals have since expired. So we're essentially in front of you today to request reapproval of the previously established wetland delineation lines. We're not in front of you today with any proposed project. We're essentially just looking to have those previously delineated wetland lines reapproved. Any sort of future work that we would be proposing here, we'd be back in front of the Conservation Commission outlining with more detail and all the compliance and information that would be associated with the new development. So for those of you that weren't part of the original permitting back then, just a little background on the site. There's bordering vegetated wetlands along the southerly and the northerly edges of the site that were subject to previous review dating even prior to that subdivision that was reviewed and approved by the Conservation Commission. So we're just essentially continuing with that previous approval and the previous precedent established here on the site as well. One element that we're not showing on the site plans that would be part of future permitting is that there is a perennial stream that does run along the southerly edge of a project where there's a piece that encroaches onto the property. We're not showing it on the plan right now, so we don't have the riverfront. It's not part of the subject ANRAD that we have in front of you today. We did engage our survey team, so we did go back out on site and reestablish the wetland flags based on those previous delineations and approvals.
Was the flag still out there?
They should be. We had them go out, I want to say maybe 2 months ago, prior to submitting this. So we did go out and
But the old ones
reestablish
are
the
still
flags.
out there?
No, it had been so long that they weren't out there. Our surveyors from the previous plans actually had the coordinates, and we hung the flags back based on the coordinates from the previously approved plan.
When you do that,
Yep.
it's a 5-year difference, roughly 6-year difference.
Since the 2017 plan, yeah,
Right,
give or take.
right. Would the coordinates have changed?
The coordinates wouldn't have changed because we do tie it into essentially control that you have on site. So even if it were done as state plane or a local coordinate system, we tie into the monumentation there and we essentially get on a similar coordinate system as the previous survey would have been. So even if it had changed over time, we'd be tying into the control so that we're on a similar reference as what was previously
In other
done.
words, if the wetlands had changed, you pick that up. I mean, would there be a change in the delineation in 5 years, 6 years, or?
It's possible. Ultimately, we didn't hire a wetland scientist to redelineate what we have on the site here. So what we did was essentially with the previous approval, because it had been through the order of conditions,
Yep.
we're just looking for that previous delineation to get reapproved. So we didn't go and redefine the wetlands
Right.
just because of the precedent that was on site.
What do you think of that? Is it pretty acceptable?
It should be pretty
I mean,
accurate,
6 years isn't gonna,
right?
you're not gonna have any
There hasn't
dramatic.
been anything being done out there
On the site,
previously.
yeah, as far as I'm aware, the subdivision, although it was approved by Conservation and the Planning Department, the applicant did not move forward with
Right.
any of the work.
And nothing was done within those years.
Yeah, I think just the use of the property, however, they were using the single family property was how they've continued to use it. So there has been no development. And because they never started the subdivision, all the permits did lapse.
Right.
If they had started it, it's a possibility that we would have been able to just continue building what was approved, but it just never started.
There's big mounds of dirt out there.
Yeah, those have been there for a while.
They have them? Okay.
So no fees were paid.
But we did pay fees.
Yep, everything's, it's almost like they're starting from scratch,
Yeah.
which we will need to close out the other order conditions.
Correct. So you want a
Certificate of
certificate of
compliance
compliance
that
that
never
was
got-
never started.
Right, never started. So
Correct.
that will have to get closed to go away at some point.
Correct.
Um,
And even with the COVID tolling, so as I'm sure you're aware, there was a period where a lot of the permits got extended because
Right.
of the COVID that we all went through.
Right.
The conservation approvals are beyond those timelines, so all those have expired. The planning approvals, I think, might still be within that window, but regardless, we'd have to come in front of the planning and the conservation if we had anything different than what was previously proposed.
Right.
No matter what we propose, we would have to come in front of the Conservation Commission regardless.
I will ask, just maybe to save the applicant time and money, if the plans are similar to what was proposed before,
Yep.
we might need to not have to have the whole 53G review process started again.
Okay.
Going forward,
Sure.
depending on what the proposal is.
Understood. I will note that we do not yet have a DEP number. I did check.
Right,
Coming forward today, we don't have the DEP file number.
So we're gonna have to continue it anyways until we get the number.
When do you think that you'll get that?
We were hoping to have it for today. Typically, they do turn it around in a couple of weeks. This was
Yeah.
submitted on the 23rd, so it's been about two and a half weeks
So,
since we submitted
I-
it.
Once this gets
I
going,
will say there seems to be a backup because the 44 South Main Street project that we had come before us still doesn't have a
oh,
DEP
yeah.
number. So, for
So
whatever
you seem like you wanna get going pretty, as soon as possible.
Yeah, I think we would. Ultimately, we would hope that the next hearing, we would be back in front of you. We have the DEP file number. If there are any questions or comments.
Close anything out, no, that's.
I don't have any issues with the delineation that we're looking at.
I don't believe, I'm gonna, now that I know the flags are all hung out there, I will take
Take
a
a look.
walk out there within the next few days, so that by the next meeting,
Same,
I
yeah.
can confirm it and.
And then whatever's
I don't
done
think
anyways, they're gonna come in front of us to
Right.
basically, so he can have a judgment on what,
Yep.
say.
So you understand what's
Zay, I was
happening
just
here? Okay.
Any
Have a
questions?
whole new process.
Not yet.
No, not yet. If you feel free to if you wanna do anything now, but,
Yep. No, I understand what's
Okay.
going on. Thank you.
So
so then, we just,
continue.
Anybody on Zoom questions, comments? Zach?
Zach Gorman, 32 Harvestwood, abutting the property.
oh yeah.
Just a quick question, not knowing, we just moved in here recently, so we're not overly familiar with the project, other than we knew that it was a potential in the back there. Our concern is just making sure that the wetland delineation is accurate, 6 years after it was done. I'm not an expert in any of this, but we just want to make sure that it is clear. I heard one of the committee members mention that they were going to walk, to check it out. I don't know if you have the expertise to be able to say, like, it doesn't look like it's the same or it is the same, but any feedback you could give us on that would be appreciated. We know you guys will do your due diligence to make sure that it is correct when they come back for the future planning. That was one of our comments.
Okay, that was the Tim Hay conservation agent, and yes, I do have the expertise to check the line, so that will be done before the 20th.
Awesome, thank you. And I think we might have one more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's it for now, thank you.
Who's that commenting? Can you tell?
That's Zach Gorman.
Zach, one of the
Yeah,
abutters.
resident, yeah. Okay,
All right, so
32 Harvestwood for the record.
great, thanks.
feel free to, in the future meetings, to be able to, speak and ask questions to whatever you want while this is going on. So it's good to get the people and the residents to be able to say what they want to say. So on that note, I guess we'll continue entertain a motion to continue this project to 6/20.
The next
So
day.
moved. So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Steve, is your, voice on?
Steve, can you hear us?
Steve, can you hear us?
Yes,
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
That's where the background feed was, through Steve.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Welcome.
His mouth was going for seconds, so, but we didn't hear it, so I was wondering.
Who knows?
Okay, so the next one is a continued hearing for 44 South Main Street.
And they have sent in a letter requesting a continuance until July 18th.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to continue till July 18th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank
See
you.
later.
and the next one is a continue 40 United Drive.
And we have Adam Hunt presenting.
Mm-hmm.
hi, Adam Hunt with Level Design Group. Here to talk about 40 United Drive, on behalf of Ajax United Drive LLC. The project is for a 180,000 square foot warehouse. The existing parcel is actually just west of the previous lot that we discussed, 38 that we presented. It is all wooded with the exception of a small area of heavy grass. Other than that, it's thick wooded area, wetland on the west side of the lot, and along the south actually. Bordering along the south and then isolated along the west. So as I said, we're proposing 180,000 square foot warehouse. It's a bit similar to the layout for 38, reversed, with the truck parking here on the east side, and the car parking along the west and north side of the building. And if we have, as you can see, we have some disturbance in the 100-foot buffer there and along the back, in the south end of the building. We're not in the no disturb anywhere. Stormwater consists of 4 infiltration systems. All of them actually on this sheet here, 3 septic chambers, and I believe it's an 18-inch pipe and stone system. All of the roof flow discharges to a modified detention basin that's being just slightly regraded, but maintaining the same elevations, the same bottom elevation anyway. And that we are connecting to an existing pipe. So we're proposing some manholes, an outlet structure and a manhole to configure this back and to connect to this existing pipe here, which will discharge to the surface on toward the wetland as it does in existing conditions. But as I said, there's also these 4 other infiltration systems we're proposing. One of them which actually outlets to that detention basin. The other 3 overflow in series and outlet to a new proposed outlet to the surface, which discharges the wetlands. And we're meeting all design flows for 2, 10, 25, and 100-year storms from pre to post development. And we're meeting our TSS removal and treatment through deep sump catch basins and proprietary units. I think we're using the CDS units and storm scepter units. So we get pretreatment between the deep sump and the treatment units before infiltration. I think there may be a situation where we just provide treatment for a small area where it doesn't infiltrate. And naturally, as I said, the roof goes to the modified detention basins that doesn't need treatment, it doesn't get it. But everything else receives its required pre-treatment or treatment prior to discharge.
Adam, if I might ask, at this point,
Sure.
have you heard from Natural Heritage at all as far as where they're at? Because this one was under the review for Natural Heritage, right?
Yes, we haven't heard back from them. I have to look at the last correspondence, but we haven't heard anything from them in a while.
Right, because at this point, the 53G review has been complete. And it's kind of, we're waiting basically on Natural Heritage's decision. If the plan has to change because of something they find, then we'd have to relook at it. But at this point, if they say everything's good, then the 53 review is complete.
Yeah. So we're just waiting on them then.
So we're kind of just waiting on the Natural Heritage letter and decision on their end.
Okay.
So the only other question I did have is, did we ever find out on that detention pond that's along the street? I know there's easements with it, but is that part of the street layout and the street drainage go into that? And if so, we're just trying to figure out who's responsible for that,
For United Drive?
for the United Drive, because if we're gonna be tying your project into that and it's a street drain that the town's responsible for, or is it a drainage easement that you have between the two parcels?
Right, well, I'm pretty sure that is getting the street drainage now.
Okay, because I know it's been
I realize.
reviewed so that any new additional drainage you're adding to it, it will handle and it will take care of. But I just need to, on my end, once we do the stormwater management permit and stormwater management maintenance agreement,
Yeah.
have it understood who's gonna be responsible for maintaining that in the future. So,
Maybe they work together.
right, that at this point, if you're adding to it, it might be something that you're now gonna be responsible for maintaining the drainage structure.
Is that something that can just be modified in the O&M, or is that a specific?
It can be just added. We typically have a maintenance agreement for the stormwater systems, so you'd have one anyways, that goes with the property, even if the ownership changes, stating that you're gonna maintain the, stormwater system so it can function, and that the operation and maintenance plan going forward will be maintained. Just so that it doesn't end up getting abandoned and
So
left.
would the town still be responsible for that
Well, that's
drain
what,
on the roadway?
that's what we're trying to figure out at this point.
Or you can work together, maybe the town can work with that and then the rest, just in case something happens later on down the road with somebody else.
Right, so I know the planning board had questions about that.
Yeah.
And so that was why I brought it up, was to find out who actually had the easement and where it went.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to continue anyway because
Right.
Yeah.
natural heritage.
Yeah, they're gonna wait for them, so. Sounds like everything's,
So Adam, do you think Natural Heritage will be back in touch with us before the 20th of June?
I'm getting
So do you think Natural Heritage will be back in touch with us by the 20th?
I am not sure. I will try and look into it and find out what I can and get back to you.
put it on for that date. and
Because I
then
mean,
not
we
continue.
can continue to the 20th, and then after that, we don't meet again until July 18th. So we can continue to the 20th,
Might be a chance.
Well, yeah, I guess let's continue to the 20th for now, and,
and if you hear that it's forthcoming by then, fine. If not, then we can continue to the 18th of July.
okay,
And
that works.
I will talk to the planning board members and the DPW in town and figure out how we want to deal with the drainage easement, for that catch basin in the front. And I'll have that answer by the
Okay.
20th.
Okay, so, anybody else got questions? No? No, I guess they'll entertain a motion to continue this project to June 20th.
I'll make the motion.
And Steve seconds?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, and then the next one, before we do any other stuff, is 77 Columbus Ave for request for a certificate of compliance.
Yes. Everything is built, everything is in, the plants are there, signs are up, as built in. So
Okay,
it's all set to do.
all looking good. Okay, also I'll entertain a motion to issue the certificate of compliance for 77 Columbus Ave.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that's good. And River Street, the Eagle Scout project.
That's on hold, still waiting.
Okay.
Eagle Scout's got some stuff he's figuring out as far as positioning and where. I will tell you that we do have a request for some tree cutting and trimming. Actually, we have two. I think I sent everybody a
Yes.
copy of one.
Yeah.
And that is all tree trimming, no removals, so it doesn't require any plantings or revegetation or anything. It's just for the billboard that's along the highway for site clearance, which just needs your approval.
How do they, I mean, what, they have so many feet back that they're looking at, I guess,
Right,
60 miles an hour.
Right, and it has to go through Mass Highway approval for the tree cutting as well as the towns.
Yeah.
And there's a full arborist report on it.
I saw that, yeah.
I will ask, only because this is an administrative thing, and it's up to you if, I'm just thinking to speed things up. Do you guys want to approve every single one of these that comes through, or do you want me to just do it as an office administrative thing, like
How
the
many,
administrative stormwater permits?
you mean in the future, or?
And going forward,
Sure.
I'm just,
You got time to do that?
yeah, I mean, I did the site visits for both of these that
Okay.
requested it.
It's okay with you, it's fine with
We
us.
just
or-
have to
I mean, I
make
can
a
send you the
motion to-
information, but to have to wait 2 or 3 weeks for a
So-
meeting
Oh, no,
to
no.
So-
do tree trimming when it,
So I'll just entertain a motion to allow you to approve the
tree cutting.
tree cutting in the future,
Or typical administrative issues, is
Right,
that-
is it?
Yeah.
or just, okay, as an
Right.
administrative
Okay, I'll make that
issue
motion.
later on down the road. Do I hear a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right,
I just figured it would be easier. The
Oh,
other
yeah.
one, I might as well let you know, is a new resident at 36 Harvestwood wants to trim some of the trees in the back of their yard that have grown in and started to overhang the backyard.
oh, so it's just branch, like
There's one
limbs.
dead oak tree that's in there that they want to take out as well. And they did ask if it was okay to replant evergreens or arborvitaes or something like that as a screen,
Yeah.
which I said wasn't a problem. They did ask Chris about taking down those 2 street trees in the front of the yard. And Chris said to check with the Conservation Commission. It's all out of our jurisdiction area, really.
Yeah, it's nothing to us.
They're old pear trees, so they're at the end of their life anyways, and they're starting to tear up the sidewalk and make it.
That's what I'd wonder, you know, we don't take down
It was the
good
wrong tree to
trees.
plant there originally to begin with, and so I said I didn't have a
They're
problem.
pretty when they bloom, but
Well, now he has trees he can replant.
And they're willing to put something back in, but Chris does have it on his plan to redo the sidewalks on Harvestwood eventually. And so when that happens, they're gonna have to take out a lot of the trees along the side, so that
Oh, okay.
replanting is part of that
Okay.
process. But at this point, it would save the town money taking the trees down by having them do it.
Yes.
So if they're willing to, Chris doesn't have a problem with it, so.
Mhm.
Just on the same Harvestwood side, when I was looking at that delineation into the backyards
Yeah, I know.
of Harvestwood, I know there was some incursion over the years,
Mm-hmm.
and then it kind of dropped. We didn't deal to it, sheds and pools. And,
Exactly.
so what do we?
Well, it's funny because I remember the last time this happened.
Yeah.
People were coming in going, well, I don't like this, I don't like this.
Yeah,
But yet they got a shed that's in the wetlands. They have a pool that they shouldn't have put in,
right.
or a fence that they shouldn't have put in. Now it's
Right.
an issue turned back on them.
I will tell you, the resident that was here was one of them that wanted to put a fence and couldn't.
I remember that.
Mhm.
Yes,
So-
I remember that. But going up the street, I don't know what's going on there. But
Well, I would think from like future on, if they decide to do anything in the yards, they're gonna have to come in front of us. Should
Right.
come in front of us to have something done. So I mean, I don't think we can do anything about it now. I mean,
I guess you could, couldn't you? If
you could if you
pushed
really
it?
wanted to push it, but I mean, you're gonna go to every house and say, "Hey, I don't like your shed's like a foot off."
I know.
You can't do that, but
yeah.
we can be if we want to do. But we'll take a
I
little
also
bit.
I have a lot of business that's not on our normal
Yeah.
cycle of stuff. I have been asked by 307 South Main Street, the one that came in before us a couple weeks ago. Which, actually, you know what? Let me see if I can do this. I will put it on the screen and share it. And I did.
How old are those Harvestwood houses? They, 25, 30 years old.
It must be getting up there.
Yeah.
I would say at least, definitely 20.
You follow what we were talking about?
Yes,
That the backyards weren't.
I just
marked,
rode through there
so,
before the meeting,
yeah.
so I
Because you weren't here when that first
No.
came in.
Over there, Steve can see this at home. So, this is the one on South Main Street that wanted to put the contractor's yard in for the tree company to store their crane inside.
Yep.
What they are looking to possibly do, the area that already has a road cut in it,
Right.
they were looking to originally move the road cut to the
Yes.
other side, to
Right.
move it further away from the wetland.
Right.
They're looking to see what the commission would think about leaving the road cut right where it is.
And putting another one in.
And just leaving it there, that will be the entrance. The area that's beside it, which is this area right here, is already disturbed. The wetland that's there, they wouldn't touch. It would be just the 50-foot, which we've already given them permission to work in the 50-foot to remove this.
Mm-hmm.
If I go, let me go down to the next slide. Okay. So this is where the proposed entrance would be.
Mm-hmm.
What they're looking to do is just move it about 12 to 14 feet this way, further back over to where it originally was. They don't want to change the size of the building. They don't want to change the layout of the parking lot. What they would probably do is just make this area here and this area here more grass or plantings or landscaped area.
And for being able to do that.
Right, to be able to leave.
And the driveway's already there.
Right, the driveway entrance is already there. It makes it so they don't have to go with Mass Highway and all the engineering and that huge expense.
Right.
I will admit, Collins, when they did the design, Dave came in and kept them out of the 50-foot
Yeah.
deliberately. Because he knew that we normally don't let the 50-foot. This is an odd site because it's already been disturbed and was already torn apart.
Well, as long as they don't go any farther
Keep
than that as a
further
driveway.
going.
Right, and I mean,
And they are looking
they're gonna
at.
have to redo a little bit different engineering.
Yeah.
If it's minor enough, I suggested they ask for a minor project change.
Mhm. Yeah, I would
And
ask
I'll
for
talk to Colin to find out, depending on the engineering, whether it needs to have that, let me show you this sheet, which actually shows all the drainage structures on
that.
it,
Oh, yeah.
redone. And just redo the one sheet. They're not gonna have to change the calculations at all, because they're not changing the parking lot size or the pavement,
They're just
or
changing
the
the
entrance
entrance.
width or anything,
Yeah.
it's just locations.
Yeah.
Right.
But they wanted me to bring it before the board.
And about how much, how many feet are they gonna be in?
It's about 14 feet further, so the wetland area would be from it about 26 to 30 feet. So instead of the 50-foot, it'd be a 30-foot.
And how far in off the street?
And
Just,
you mean the entrance?
yeah. I
They're gonna
mean,
like graze the side or
It's
they're
just
just?
gonna- it's-
swing right
It'll
in.
just look, the radius that's there will
Yeah.
just be moved over, so it's not gonna change the angle, or it's just gonna go straight back in,
Okay.
up the side. So the only spot would be the very closest to the road where the 50-foot,
And
comes
previously
in.
disturbed, yeah.
and that had all been torn up
And that's,
previous.
yeah, and that's been done.
Yeah, I mean, it's all been filled back in, and it's not natural soil or anything that's there.
So it wouldn't, even if we told them not to, it would be,
It's still a mess.
yeah, it would be a
it's not
mess,
gonna
and it's
really-
not gonna be much of anything for a wetland.
Right, and if anything, and I did talk to them about possibly seeing if they would clear and give, if the commission wanted to give them permission to get the invasive plants out of the 50-foot, because there's a lot of autumn olive, Russian olive, bittersweet, buckthorn growing in.
That stuff would go right through.
It's just, because it was
Yeah.
abandoned field.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that sounds okay.
I have no problem.
Once you take out that wild stuff, does it come back?
You gotta dig it all out.
It's,
Pretty
to
much, huh?
remove it, you have to keep at it, so it's like a 3-4 year process. But if it's gonna be an owner occupied place, they may be willing to keep at it. I mean, the Russian olive, pretty much, once you cut it, it may sucker a little bit, but it's not one of these that just comes back up on its own. They're pretty big plants, so you're gonna whack them way back.
It should fill in pretty good there, right?
Right, and then just let the natural, I mean, there's already, you can see some of the natural oaks and maples trying to come through it.
So
but they're
actually-
just struggling so much.
Being the way it is, leaving the other, on the other side of that, it's gonna be actually be a better thing
Right,
to do than just, yeah,
Instead of-
that's, cause it's already
Yeah.
filled in anyway, so, yeah, that sounds good.
Alright.
all right, so I will go back to them with that. And other than that, it's just invoices to sign.
And I got a couple of questions. How's Manny doing up there? Is that sold?
It has sold, the property, the new
Okay.
company that we gave the permission and the permit for order conditions is set to start probably within the next couple of weeks.
Okay, so,
The solar field and the other parcels that Manny is working on purchasing, he has an ANRAD forthcoming for a wetland line on it, and he has engineering for the solar field and designs coming.
okay,
So,
has he paid his fine yet?
yes, he has.
He has.
That's all been deposited and.
Okay,
the
cause I'm
check's
saying,
been
this,
cashed.
there's all this stuff's going on, and I was like, wait a minute, how's he getting the money for this and that? And I'm like,
Yep,
pay your fines first.
the fines all got paid at the date of
And it was
closing. The
70?
next day, we had the $70,000 check.
Okay.
That's probably the biggest.
Yes.
Oh, that's the biggest I've
Biggest I've ever seen here.
ever seen, so.
Do
Okay,
you remember on, going on 106 towards East Bridgewater, we had a problem with, fertilizer going in the back? Remember the house where they were
Yes.
hauling it?
Yep.
I saw a big dump go in there the other day, and
Mr. Wood has a trucking company
he does.
that he
Okay.
manages of
I'm
himself.
thinking, here we go again, or?
No, it's, yeah. A lot of times it's coming back empty, or it's
Okay.
got a load going.
oh yeah,
From Boston
that's,
somewhere
that's
else.
his,
Okay,
basically his business right there.
I have been out there and met with him recently.
have you?
So,
Cause he bought that house, how's that
out front,
situation
and
going on back
that's-
there?
He took down some trees that, I
Should-
mean, needed to come down, they were dangerous, but again,
Should've said
he's
something
waiting
first.
until summer to clean up and revegetate the site for the trees that are taken down.
Okay.
So,
Okay, and then the other thing is, well, there's a couple more. Up by Anatelli's house.
Yep.
You know that piece in there, and that was all cleared out and everything
Yep.
like that, mowed. Is that because of the person who bought that
No.
lot? No.
The town, Chris actually had one of the DPW guys who had some free time in between projects, go in and mow the field down to try to keep it under control.
Oh, okay.
He asked me, and I said, go for it.
Oh, okay.
As much of it as he could, I said, if you wanna send it back out, it's anytime.
This
Just
is
cut it
that new
back.
house?
No, I know that somebody bought a
What
piece of property, thought they could build a house
No.
there.
piece next to Chris's,
Okay.
between the river or the stream and Chris's
Yeah.
house, was sold at auction.
Chris's old, new house.
New house.
Yeah.
And the person that bought it, it's all in the floodplain.
Yeah.
It can never be built on.
Right.
I mean, it literally, you'd have to do compensatory storage. There's not enough land there to do compensatory storage.
Right.
So it's all within the 200 foot, it's all within the floodplain.
And he bought it.
And somebody bought it thinking they were probably gonna build on it. I had to do a letter to the assessors stating that it's all in the floodplain,
Yeah.
it can't be built on, and because he
Wow.
wanted to get an abatement to lower his taxes.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
But
So
still, imagine that. When you buy that.
Due diligence.
Yeah.
I will tell you that the grant writer and I had a meeting today, and I gotta go to the open space meeting Thursday. We have a potential for grant money to do a pavilion and seating and stuff at Pratt's Landing,
Mm-hmm.
so we don't have to fully fund that ourselves.
That's the other thing I was gonna.
It would be ADA
Question.
compatible, that's one of the goals we wanna have.
88.
ADA, so you can get a wheelchair or.
Oh,
get
I think meant
access into
88.
it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so that's something we're gonna pursue. We also found some possible grant money for trails. It's sizable grant money, like 6 figures.
Oh, wow.
It's out there if you
So-
gotta dig it out, yeah.
If what we're thinking is, and this is an open space question to them, because they wanted a looped trail,
Mm,
so you could start and make a circle and come back and in.
Sure.
It looks like there is possibilities at West Meadows if Fish and Game allowed the town, or if we created a Friends of Trails in West Bridgewater organization or group to do something.
Mhm.
Or we could look at the site on Scotland Street down there that we already own, and it's town.
Goes way out.
That goes way out and around. There's a couple wet spots in the middle that we'd have to do some type of engineering to cross it. But you've
Where would
got-
it come out?
You could go out, ideally, you could come off of Maple Street, to
Yeah.
the 40B development that's there.
Yeah.
Create a parking area, park there.
Yeah.
Do a loop out to Skim Milk Bridge.
Yeah.
Then do a loop along the back side of it, come out down around near the back of Chris's house, and then circle and come back behind the development back to where the parking area on Maple Street would be.
Now, who would do that? We would hire someone with the grant
With the
money?
grant money, we would have to do some engineering and
That'd be cool.
hire somebody for design and the whole process.
That'd be nice.
But
Yeah.
grant writer thinks that after looking at some of the others over the last 3 or 4 years that have been done, that we could actually do this.
That'd be nice. Yeah.
So we just have to decide feasibility wise, is it best to do it there or do something with Fish and Game as a partner that up on their property?
Where are we getting the grant money from?
It's called Mass Trails.
Okay.
It's a state funded grant program. And they actually look like you can do DCR properties with it if you do a project with DCR. So I'm thinking, why couldn't you do a project with Fish and Game if you can do it with Conservation and Recreation? As a trail
I mean,
project.
I'm not familiar with the West Meadow area. What do you think would be the better play? Up by Scotland or?
No, Scotland would be a lot bigger. Wouldn't it?
Well, West Meadows actually has the old Spring Street Road that goes all the way up to Walnut Street.
Oh,
And that's not a bad trail already. I walked it this winter a couple times. There are some trails that go off from there that aren't really maintained or done, so you'd have to figure those out. But there's kind of a trail system up there. I don't know if Fish and Game, we'd have to go into a partnership with them for that process. Or do we just do it on our own off of Scotland Street? and have our
Would we
own
get the
trail.
money first or tell them what we wanna do and then get the money? Yeah.
The way the grant looks, you can do a feasibility study if you need to,
Mm.
but I think nobody's really asked grant money for that.
Yeah.
They self-fund that. It's the design, engineering, and construction that they go for the money for.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it may be mute if Fish and Game says they're not interested.
Right.
And then we automatically would just look at Scotland Street.
Okay.
How about hooking into the Bay Circuit Trail?
Well, that's
Is
part
that
of
part
what
of
we're looking at,
Scotland?
is because the Scotland
Scotland
Street area
Street.
would be on the Bay Circuit Trail loop
Okay.
already.
Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of like right where it started.
It's
anyway.
another-
I like the loop idea,
Yeah.
instead of coming to, Route 24.
Like the rail
and
trail that's just.
Run across
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
24 and,
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there's potential down there because Natural Heritage wanted to have it kept more, or like a meadow.
Yeah.
So that migratory songbirds and
Yeah,
meadow
sure, yeah.
birds could
sure, yeah.
have an area to be in. There is the turtle nesting habitat that had to be created when the 40B went in, so that's there. So there is some education areas that we could do kiosks and
Hmm.
kind of things with. And Skinmouth Bridge hopefully will be on a historic register pretty soon.
Mhm.
So I think there's a lot going for
Yeah.
that location.
So speaking of Pratt's Landing too.
Looks a little overgrown, is it? Am I looking at the
No, I
right
was just gonna
place?
say that, all that stuff that's along the river there,
Yep.
can we get it pulled out of there?
Actually, Nick Anderson is working on
Yeah, 'cause he asked-
sections
he
bit
asked
by
me about
bit.
it.
And I told him that, yes, as long as we aren't doing it with machines, we can do it by hand, you can trim, you can cut. You don't wanna destroy the bank that's there. is the-
Those trees were never there for the longest time.
Right, and they used to mow it all the time, and when they did, they'd mow right up to it.
Yeah,
which-
we right up to the water, loved it,
Yeah, so.
but now it kinda looks,
I
Kinda
know,
And
crappy.
he's working through some of it. I actually have a request for a payment, because we have money in the account to use up by the end of the fiscal year, so I have it's
A
basically a piece of equipment that's a hand operated, that you can pull up to a 2-inch diameter tree trunk.
oh,
And it will
okay,
take it out of the ground, roots and all.
nice, okay.
yeah, good
And-
idea.
Cause that's about the sizes down there, maybe
I
a
mean, a
little bit
2-inch
bigger.
caliper tree is a pretty big size.
Yeah, and that's about the stuff
Yeah.
that's growing down there, cause if it gets any bigger, it's gonna be harder.
Right, and so when I saw this little device, I said, okay, this is something open space and conservation might be able to use.
Yeah.
And,
Keep it in the office.
well, either that or they got that shed that's down there now, so they could actually lock it up in the
Yeah.
shed and use it.
So now, what about a mower? Cause Nick was asking me, we
Yeah.
were doing the thing, and
It-
we don't wanna, once everything gets done with all this, maybe with the money that we got from the fine too, we could buy something just to be able to
keep it-
mow
or-
grass, because you get
Right.
the equipment in there, and it's not gonna cut it like grass. It's
Right.
gonna be,
Yeah,
prickly
you're
earth.
gonna
and
need- Yeah,
You're gonna need something for people to walk on, the grass will get started and everything like that.
You're
and,
gonna
grow.
seed it, you think?
No, you don't have to seed it. All you have to do is just mow it and just
if you
keep
mow it
mowing
3
it.
or 4 or 5 times,
With a
it'll start
mower.
to,
It'll
fill it.
start
yeah,
making grass. It'll start,
the weeds and the tough stuff
yeah.
disappears and the grass.
That's nothing the town would be able to do then.
I mean, the town could, but once we get everything all done with that area, something's gonna have to be there to be able to keep up with the grass.
So it's one of those things that where it seems like the town and the DPW and Chris are more open, and Sean, to now doing a little bit more park work. They were down there and did do some mowing around Pratt's Landing, and they did do Scotland Street. So if they see that the need is there and the use is there, this may be taken over by the Parks Department eventually. I
And how
don't know.
long does it take to?
Well,
And then the open space may take over the trail maintenance if we actually get usable trails
Yeah.
put in.
Right.
With Pratt's Landing seems to be becoming more of a park type use.
and it will be after we get,
Hopefully, once the
everything all-
pavilion's up and
yeah.
they can actually do events and functions there.
Mhm.
Sure.
Open space has asked about getting electricity there, so we're looking into that.
So do we
What
need
about
a
solar?
motion to buy this, piece of equipment or?
Buddy, depending on if we need a foot size more or whatever, that The shed that's there is pretty big.
tree puller.
So
Yeah, the tree pole, what about
the tree puller is,
You got the money for that
Oh,
already?
yeah, the money's already set
Oh,
aside
good.
for that.
All right.
Yep, we've got money in the budget
Okay.
for that, so.
What do we get to keep out of the 70? The town gets a chunk too. right?
35, half and half.
Half
Half
and half.
was
Oh, is that what we
negotiated, and that John had with him was half went into
General
fine
fund.
and half was to use for the trails fund.
Oh.
So,
Not the general fund though?
that's
okay.
where the 35 went into the general fund. Half of it,
The town's half.
half of it went to the town and half of it went to the conservation.
Okay.
Can we get a thank you letter from,
Instead of
from
fighting
him?
the whole process to,
Yeah, nice little thank you letter.
and I will admit, I walked it when they just did the silt fence and the erosion control.
Oh,
There's a pretty good sized pond in the back
yeah,
there.
yeah,
which
there is.
Who would have known?
I knew the river came in
Mhm.
the back, but there's a pretty good sized pond before the river.
Where's that?
Up at the end of Manley Street,
Okay.
there's a warehouse project that we got approved, or we approved, that's up there.
How big is a blanding turtle? Not to change the subject. We had one of
No
our
idea.
neighbors
Turtle.
on Captain Carlson found a big hole next to her, one of her shrubs out in the front. And she was cleaning out, and she's looking, this thing's looking back at her. It was a turtle.
Oh, really?
And it was probably that big around. So
Well, I
I
know
have them
this-
coming this big out of the
the
river.
trustees took
Yeah,
it
yeah.
and took it down by the river, I guess, and released it. But I said, I wonder if it was laying eggs in there, though.
Yeah. good point.
That's what it was doing,
Yeah.
Laying eggs.
looking for a nesting site.
Yeah. But it was good size, and I said, I don't know what kind of turtle.
God damn it, Mo. Keep your people from poking
I know
into
the
things.
snapping turtles are moving now to do their nesting.
Yeah.
Are they?
I had to take care of one on Lincoln Street that didn't make it across the road.
I saw
Aw.
that. Someone posted that. I didn't want to see it.
Yeah,
No.
I,
Is West Meadows state-owned land, or is that other piece of property?
the
West
West Meadows?
Yeah, is that
Yeah,
state?
that's state-owned.
That's state-owned?
Yeah.
So don't we have, get special permission to do?
right,
things?
we'd have to
We
do
have
an
to work
agreement.
with them.
Work
See if we'd have to
with
work
them
with 'em.
to do a trail
It's
system.
fish and game.
But we actually have an
Oh,
agreement for the Scotland Street trail that goes along the berm along Town River.
Yeah.
As part of that is fishing game, and we have an agreement for use for a trail there with them. So it would be a similar agreement up there.
Is that you? All right.
Yeah, I think that's.
That's the only updates I had. Did you have anything else?
I don't think so.
you had a list of things.
No. Okay, no, I think that's about it.
Oh, Riverwalk did get postponed, so that's this Sunday.
Oh, okay. All right.
I will be attending that with a couple
Do
displays.
we have a booth?
Yes, I will have a booth set up and attend.
Nice.
You go dig your turtle and bring your turtle.
I can't be in the public too much.
Bring your turtle and let it go.
Thing was big.
Yeah. You guys are pulling it out and putting it somewhere else.
I didn't.
I know, I know.
Trustees. I can't touch anything.
All right. So, anybody got anything else, Steve? You got anything?
No,
No. Okay.
no.
So, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Good night.
Okay. Good night, Steve.